individuals are generating and recording performance data like never before. But too often that data leaves the training session with the athlete. It never gets seen by the coach and provides no real benefit to the team. At Ludum, we want to put an end to this. Using the Ludum platform, individuals can effortlessly sync their training data so that coaches and the support team can review, analyse and improve training by looking at the team as a whole. Custom dashboards let you focus on the reports that matter, and with all your data stored securely in the cloud, you can access it at any time via the web or by using our iOS and Android apps. Improve performance, plan ahead and save time with the tools that Ludum provides. Visit ludum.com for more information or to start your free trial today.
Hello, everybody that's watching. I know many hundreds of you have asked to come into this very special broadcast from the Rowers Conference 2021, sponsored by Ludum. I'm Martin Cross, World Rowing's TV commentator, and I'm feeling very excited this afternoon with this extra special guest. We have none other than Mr. Jürgen Grobler, the most successful rowing coach, I think, of all time. I don't know if that's correct, Jürgen, but certainly I've racked my brains to think of another coach who's been more successful than you.
Statistic is always something for journalists, maybe not for coaches.
Yeah, well, I don't want to overwhelm people with statistics, but I think in your rowing career, which started in 1972 back in the GDR, since then, you have coached 12 crews to Olympic gold medals over the period of time that you have been the rowing coach of GDR and the chief coach of Great Britain. And of course, you've recently moved out from the chief coach of Great Britain. This is the first major interview that Jürgen has done since he is no longer British chief coach. And welcome to the Rowers Conference, Jürgen.
Okay, thank you. It's a very privilege and the honor to talk. Maybe I don't know the people outside there, but I'm sure they're all rowers, and I hope we have a entertaining afternoon.
Yeah. So Jürgen, I want to ask you first of all about your feelings surrounding your decision to stop being British chief coach. Just how difficult was it for you dealing with your own feelings? How did you deal with it at the time, and how have you dealt with it since?
I think, okay, everybody knows 2020 was normally the Olympic year, the highlight for every coach, for every athlete. And okay, from the end of March, we had to go in lockdown. That was a totally new situation. We just finished our Olympic selection, or we haven't totally finished, but we feel quite confident what we did so far was good. And then, yeah, we just trained through the summer. And then in April came the decision from the IOC, beginning of May, I think, the Olympic Games are delayed. Okay, that was, of course, for all of us, yeah, not easy, because especially in my case, if you're a little bit older, never too old, and you have already a little bit made up your mind, okay, that will be your last Olympics, especially in that, in the driving seat, I would say, as chief coach. There was so a lot of things coming through your mind, you know, how you do. And then British Rowing as well, they were thinking, okay, with that new situation, we're not waiting. We want to start on 2024 as a priority for the British Rowing. Okay, I said I can't commit for 4 years. And so far, yeah, I made my decision earlier, knowing it's an undone job. We've been in a good progress, you know, men and women. We use the time through the lockdown very well.
Yeah.
I think, and it was difficult, but we had some outstanding performances in men and women's side, and that was challenging. I think the setup everybody had in his home was very, very different. Ergo in the kitchen or just close to the bed, in the bedroom on the daytime, so they can move through their room. They have to put the ergo on the bed. It was or on a car park and all those things. And I must say that was a challenging time when we managers, together with the coaches and all the scientists, we really did a good job. But as I said, I couldn't quite commit for 4 years. But that was a little bit as a priority for British rowing. So.
How frustrated were you that you had to step out then, Jürgen, given that you'd selected some crews and given that you were so close to the athletes? What was the level of frustration that you felt?
In one way, was being discussed before about my future, and I always said I don't do 4 years. It was in so far undone job. Nobody could see what's coming up. Is that 2021, is that real or not real? The situation to the beginning of the pandemic was, nobody knows. And even now it's still a scary situation. Of course, you can see the progress we're making worldwide. It's not just the big progress we're making in Britain, but also in other countries. We need all the other countries, is promising. And I know at the moment is again discussion about 2021, but I would always say, and I said to the athletes, yes, and there will be, the Olympics should be on. The generation tried now 5 years for that highlight in their life. We should do everything, or the IOC should do everything to make it happen. And I think all the sports now see it is possible.
Yeah.
But maybe not in the same format as we do it now. That's how I see it.
You must have felt with the scores. I know Tom George broke the British record. He dipped below 5 minutes 40 for 2,000 meters on the rowing ergometer. Then Mo Sabihi broke.
Yeah.
You must have been so pleased to see your athletes putting in some fantastic scores, just, in preparation for the 2021 Olympics.
No, they had a really good attitude, I think, even also from the first time before the decision was made, but then also when the decision was made, okay, we've been holding ourselves as a team, as a whole GB team, men and women together. We had every week we had contact to each other with everybody in the team. So I think it was a challenging time, but I think that's something you can't measure. But I had to have a good feeling for all our athletes.
What reaction did you get from the athletes, and have you had any contact with them since, Jürgen? I know that you left quite suddenly. How much of a shock was that to your athletes, and how did they react to that? And have you seen them since or talked to them since?
Okay, the first thing I did, we had a video conference between the announcement to tell them I'm stepping down. Okay, that was very emotional for me, especially because I think I'm a team player, but also for the athletes. I must say I had very, very good feedback from a lot of athletes. From athletes, they are on the team now, they're on the borderline to the team, but also from the athletes from the past, but also from athletes, especially they've been in the team, but they never really made it. They missed the selection where you always think as a coach, okay, but there's only 8 seats or whatever. And they really gave me really good feedback. And it was fantastic. I must say, I didn't expect that, but this was mentally tough.
Have you seen them since? Have you managed to say? Do they still phone you and ask you for advice?
We still have contact. I've been to Caversham in the autumn. I've been talking one-to-one or in groups. I think, of course, I wish them all the best as my team. And yeah, so there's still, some kind of contact more privately. I'm not undermining the coaches now or whatever. If people are asking me, of course, I will give my best advice. I always do. But not undermining or that's so. But yeah, I have some contact.
Jürgen, you more than anyone know that small margins make a difference in the sport of rowing. And given your history of winning gold when it matters at the Olympic Games, can you think that the British team have as good a chance without you in Tokyo in 2021 of winning gold medals?
Okay, I think, of course, why not? I mean, no question. Anyway, everybody can be replaced. Okay, it's always difficult just before the finish line, 500 meters to go, and somebody finished. But I think, okay, I hope with all my meetings and education, I tried and pulling coaches in my thinking. Very often there's a transition to keep that winning edge. Even, of course, we had a more heavy Olympic preparation over the last 4 years or 3 years. After, we lost some big athletes, very successful athletes, very promising athletes for the future, but it's normal. That's for every nation, maybe sometimes the same. But we were on a very good way coming up, and with 10 crews qualified, I think with 3 medals, 3 bronze medals in total, especially also the women after they had a bad World Championships in 2018, coming back and qualified 6 crews. That was great. Still with not all of them in contact to a medal, but I think just before, I think we made good progress even through that lockdown, and knowing always hits some people mentally more than others. But I think as a team, with all the other coaches, athletes between the athletes, I think, we did a good job. And I think, and so far, I'm very positive. If we take that in the right way, not as a negative, as a positive, then I think, why not?
Which boat do you think has the best chance of winning another gold for Britain, Jürgen?
Okay, I still think we had a good chance in the men's 8. That's always, anyway, that's as my very personal, where I'm talking now as a coach. I judge myself always, everybody can do it once, to do it again. That was my point. I always think we underperformed in 2019 to our final race. That means not the other crews were bad, and I think it was top times being achieved there, but I think we didn't quite get it right from the heat to the finish, to the final.
Did you blame yourself for that, Jürgen?
I think so, yeah. I think, in one way, after the heats, and we had quite a heavy heat, and we know before we didn't win. We won in Rotterdam, and everybody was thinking, it was a lane, but we won the time trial and the race, so can't be always a lane. We did some good races beforehand. I think I was so sure we will win it. Normally, I always not like that. Heat is heat. The last stroke counts, and that's the final. But with all the other things around, and the pressure to qualify, and some crews had to go through the repechage, and repechage was so important, even, and was so tight, everything. I was maybe a little bit not hard enough. The guys trained, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I gave too much away on some fine. It's already done, so that was not done. Never ever be done. So that was where I see a little bit. I was not sharp enough.
Yeah.
Not the guys didn't train or whatever, but it's, what I mean. Sometimes just always wake myself up, wake the guys up, and I look, guys, come on, wasn't good enough.
So the British 8, with all those young guys in that you have brought into the team, with the old veteran Mo Sabihi, that is good enough to win a gold medal in Tokyo.
I think that was our aim, and there's nothing changed. And if I talk to the guys, I think they should. That is a good mix, knowing, of course, and that's nobody can predict. The Germans had a clean run through. But we've been in the process, building that 8 over the years. We had changes every time, but we've been now to a good final lineup. 6 guys been with us for a longer time, 2 came new in. I think always to strengthen that boat in different places. So I think that can be done, but knowing has to be done. And now it's what I said. And that means not we would win it, but we would give a better race than we raced the final in Linz. So there's no misunderstanding. There was a fantastic race from the Germans, from the Dutch, no question. But we were right from the beginning not in the race, and that's not us.
No, Jürgen, there's none of the crews are actually selected yet, and British Rowing have developed a new selection system. They have done away, as you know, with chief coaches. So your role and Paul Thompson's role have gone, and they have created this new panel in charge of selection with the director of performance and the squad or the sweep coach or the sculling coach and an athlete representative or somebody who's independent. Can I ask you what you think of that system, whether you think that will work, and what was wrong with the old system?
Okay, I can only talk about what we had in the past, and that was, from my point of view, successful. It was not a one-man show of Jürgen Grobler or whatever. I think it was always teamwork, discussing every athlete and every selection with every coach. Some of the decision, also the top athletes being involved when we made decision, I think especially between 2013 and 2016, when we always changed between 4 and 8.
Yeah.
But with a good reason. So in one way, I would just say it's been discussed with the athletes. Would be easy in 2013. We've been gold medalists in the Coxless 4. Only one athlete left to fill that place and carry on with the 4. But in interest, and that's where I think also as a chief coach, to bring more people in, we said, no, they go in the 8, rowing with Mohammed, with other bronze medalists from the Olympics, and maybe learning winning. And of course, it was also a little bit for me in the first time, if you get older, okay, maybe it's also time now to coach 8.
Yeah.
I had, as a chief coach, the biggest word is always more work, more athletes. So that was a little bit where I think also athletes being involved. And the next year we did it. We made good progress. in that year 2013 are fine. Now we take the 4 out again or build a new 4 and developing the 8. So was there also where I coached together with Christian the 8,
Yes.
and I had the 4 on site as well.
Yeah.
So, and so far that was successful. I'm always open for new things.
Why do you think they've created this new system, Jürgen? Do you have any idea? Can you think of why they might have?
I don't think so. I don't know if the coaches now selecting their own crew, but okay, I don't know how that works, and yeah, I don't know where all the expertise is coming from, but I'm open for new things. Maybe I'd be too critical because I've been growing up in a system as we developed over the years, been successful, and I think was all people being integrated in the process.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, it must be the new performance director, Brendan Purcell, has come in from the sport of originally triathlon. I think he's a kayaker. How difficult do you think it is for someone who is not familiar with the sport of rowing to come in to run the squad system and run a rowing system? Do you think you need to have specialist knowledge or not for that?
Okay, I mean that can always of course, you see it in other situation as well. If you take a government, people do different jobs or being different minister. One year maybe they've been for sport, the next time they've been the defense minister or whatever. This is that strong, good leadership. But I think it always depends how you have the group around you, and some expertise would be always good. And so that's how I see it. And yeah.
Maybe that was slightly an unfair question, Jürgen. I think one of the things watching sport from the outside is with UK sport now, there seems to be more a focus on the athlete experience and care for the athlete rather than performance. So do you think that's something that was lacking in the way that Caversham was run? And do you think that needed to change? Or how do you see the way that UK sport is now approaching funding?
Okay, I'm sure the funding is always based on performance, I think, or I don't know, even that's why I've learned in a system when every person should be the same, but where we had a system like in the successful Western countries, the old system was working then for the sport as well. I think it should be always in good partnership, a good combination. Of course, we need, and I always tried and challenge athletes. I like athletes. They challenge me as a coach. They are well educated. I think they're not, you can't dictate on that and jump up and down. They are the most important part in the whole process, how I see it. They can only give you feedback when they do the training. How is it? You can write everything down, but they have to do it. And, and so far, that strong partnership is important. But I think what I have learned is always, if we have well-educated coaches and we made good progress in Britain, we should trust the coaches. And of course, there is some disbalance in some other sports, whereas maybe going too far and how they treat the athletes. But I think, and of course there will be always sometimes a conflict, no question, but that's in every other process as well. But I think in the past we managed that quite well.
Have you ever lost sleep, Jürgen, over a selection decision, or have you always been content with the decisions you've made?
No. Okay, I think I always said it in every interview. That's the most demanding time where I have no sleep, because, as I said, I have so big respect to every young athlete, puts their life on hold, spending every day training, is close, is in, it's out. And then it's the chief coach, of course, end of the day comes down to the chief coach and say, okay, you in, you out. And to bring that always over, because it's not just always black and white. It's a lot easier if you're a swimming chief coach. You can measure exactly, okay, if you hit the other end first after 50 meter or 100 meter, you're in.
Yeah.
You have the time and you're not in. But our sport is a lot more complex. It's not just ergo. I think I wouldn't select just for ergo. It's technique, it's personality. If you take the difference in sport, and that's why I've learned as well. And you know them very well, Martin. Grexer,
yeah,
very physical, one of the strongest British athletes, and his brother was exactly in a different direction.
Yeah.
But he was still the crew maker, He had the feel for the boat. He was mentally enormous strong. He could mobilize something what you haven't seen in training sometimes. So I think you learn a lot as a coach, and that's also when you build a boat. What you need. Of course, you have to have, erstmal in principle, some principles for everybody. That is a guideline for every athlete, what they have to do first to be in the group for selection.
Yeah. Jürgen, before we move on to talk about some of the crews that you've coached and the great athletes, a lot of people think it's, you're still a young man, you still look very young, and you still have possibilities ahead of you. Are you open to offers from the world for you to come and help their programs? I'm thinking particularly of one of the great rowers that you coached, Steve Redgrave. I'm sure that Steve must have been on the phone to you and said, Jürgen, we could do with your support in China.
I must say, Martin, the first time was quite good, even with the lockdown, come down. Then that was 50 years non-stop, front line driving seat as a coach, right from the beginning. So that was quite good. But of course, now I'm full of energy sitting here, still in a lockdown. And of course, a lot of things going through my head. How would you handle the situation now as we are? Still, how would you teach the athletes not losing confidence? How can you compensate no boat time with ergo time, what it means, or some other training. So methodically, of course, you can't just copy what you did before. Some elements still stay the same, but I think in that situation now, you have to be more flexible, and that can be very positive. So of course, all those things going through my head. And so far, of course, now with the lockdown and there's nearly no plane in the air. But I can't commit for 4 years for somebody in a top position, but I still want to do something.
Yeah.
I want to do, can still coach a crew or whatever and help somebody.
Jürgen, we're going to talk about, your career. We have been already today. I just wonder, you've got fantastic stories to tell. Have you ever thought of putting that all together in a book or something like that?
Martin, what I just said, I haven't finished totally. And there would be always something missing. So at the moment, I would say, Asma, no, but never ever say no.
Yeah.